the hidden consensus most Americans actually share. According to new findings from Gallup, Americans agree on far more than our politics often admit. In a massive national survey of more than 20,000 adults, Gallup reports overwhelming unity on core democratic values. 8 in 10 Americans say political violence is never acceptable. Similar numbers say elected leaders should compromise to solve problems. And 84% believe the United States is stronger with a mix of races, religions, and cultures. Gallup adds that nearly 80% of Americans agree that everyone has the right free, non-violent expression, a level of agreement rarely seen in modern polling. Yes, we disagree on the pace of cultural change and on who should ensure people's basic needs are met, but the broader picture is unmistakable. Americans share a strong foundation of common democratic principles. Gallup says these results reveal a country that, beneath the noise, is far more unified in its values than the headlines suggest. Okay, so what's the real message here? We constantly hear in the media that there's this massive culture war, everyone hates each other. Well, according to Gallup, a new poll shows that the vast majority of Americans are in agreement on things like whether it's appropriate to use violence, whether multiculturalism is good. You rarely hear it in the headlines because it's not spewing hatred. It doesn't generate clicks, but it is reality. Let's dig a little deeper here. I thought it was important for me in this show to not only spotlight this new poll, but to make it the lead story of because you're not going to see this in most other news outlets because it doesn't sow dissension. This is not the sort of thing that generates lots of clicks. This is not the sort of thing where people see it on Facebook, they see the headline and think, oh, good, this makes me look good and people I don't like look bad. Therefore, let me hit like and share without ever having read it. It's not that kind of a story. And that's part of the problem with our modern media landscape, the social media world. Things that stress consensus, things that show unity get buried by the algorithm. That's a huge problem. Let me look in more detail at some of the facts from this story. 84% of Americans say multiculturalism strengthens America. Only 5% oppose free expression rights. So the consensus spans age, it spans party lines. Senior citizens were most opposed to violence. Young adults mostly reject violence. And it's not just Democrats who say multiculturalism is good. That's a little bit of a surprise. Independents are supportive. Republicans show a majority of Republicans, according to this recent Gallup poll, show they support a multicultural society here in the United States. So when it comes to the change of pace, there is some disagreement. Half say it's changing too quickly. Half say it's changing at a reasonable pace. Immigrants, believe it or not, are evenly divided on this issue. 45% of people are comfortable with change and diversity. 39% like diversity but prefer slower change. Most oppose banning candidates because of their political beliefs. They're deemed radical. So there's actually a lot of unity in the United States. And I suppose I'm as guilty as the next person or the next commentator for fixating on controversy because that's more interesting to talk about. It's not particularly interesting. This video right now isn't going to go viral. Oh my gosh, did you see TJ talk about how unified the country is? No, this video is not going to go viral, but I don't care. The whole point of this show is to try to explain what's really going on in the world and analyze it from the perspective of a sane, sensible centrist. Now, it's okay if you don't consider yourself a centrist. You can be a centrist and be a member of any party, and you could be at different places across the spectrum as long as you're avoiding the extremes. You know, the center, there can be a wide center, but this is not a show where you're just going to be told day after day after day, I'm the good guy, they're the bad guys. Wouldn't you know it? The people you already don't like are bad again. It's not that type of a show. So if you're looking for that, you may want to try elsewhere. But I do see it as my goal to put a spotlight, not necessarily on good news, although this is pretty good news, but putting a spotlight on reality to give you a better sense of what's really going on, and then to filter the news through the lens of communication skills and personal development skills. The real lesson here is be careful that you don't get a distorted view of the world because of the algorithms that our big tech companies have found they're most profitable. It's more profitable to sow dissension, to sow hatred, to do things that unfortunately can foment violence. Showing a poll that the vast majority of Americans are in agreement on some of the biggest issues facing our nation, it doesn't generate clicks, it doesn't generate money. It doesn't mean it's not true.